A cold breath moved through a mountain cave just outside Florence, carrying the faint scent of wet stone and wild rosemary, and with it, a silence that felt like a secret waiting to be opened. Leonardo da Vinci, alone and restless, stepped into that hush, and something in him changed. A vision flickered, a pattern aligned, and the world he saw afterward never looked the same. This isn't just a story about paintings and sketches. It's about a mind that kept slipping out of its own time, a series of moments that felt like messages from somewhere beyond ordinary sight, and the impossible possibility that genius sometimes arrives through doors we don't yet know how to name. From the start, Leonardo refused to be boxed in. Excluded from the prestigious academies of his youth, he roamed the hills and streams, not merely to sketch what he saw, but to listen to the way water carved the land, to study the hinge of a bird's wing and the small miracles in a drop of rain. That relentless curiosity looked like stubbornness to some, but to him it was a practice, a daily excavation of the world's hidden language. When he returned to canvas, his paintings were not merely images. They were encoded experiences, paintings that felt as if they might open when the right light fell across them. People who study his life speak of a cave he found in the North Apennines and of the effect that dark, echoing hollow had on him. He wrote about it in a tone that suggested the encounter was more than mere travel. It was transformative. The cave became an emblem in his mind, an aperture where the known edges of the world blurred and new shapes appeared. For Leonardo, curiosity was a map and the cave was one of its compasses. What he drew afterward, machines, anatomical studies, impossible machines of flight, looked like dreams sketched on paper, but every dream had the geometry of something he had seen or perhaps been shown. Those who have tried to explain his genius fall into two camps. One sees an obsessive intellect, a natural polymath whose rigorous observation and experimental method made him leap centuries ahead. The other leans into myth, whispered encounters with visitors from elsewhere, fleeting visions of futures not yet born, or messages tucked secretly into brushstrokes that only reveal themselves when we know to look. Neither explanation alone captures the whole truth. The more fascinating pattern is how Leonardo moved between both worlds, the coldly scientific and the deeply mysterious, and how each fed the other. He studied optics and the human eye because he wanted to reproduce light. He sketched machines because he had already felt the need for their motion inside his head. Look at the Mona Lisa and you'll know what I mean. Not simply a portrait, the painting is a meditation, a door into the artist's mind. Her smile refuses to be pinned down, and that refusal is deliberate. Leonardo painted a face that feels like a living thing because he understood movement down to the tiniest muscle. When light roams across the curve of her mouth, new meanings seem to bloom. When shadow withdraws, another layer appears. This is not accidental trickery. It's an invitation. He wasn't hiding puzzles for posterity's sake alone. He was shaping paintings as experience machines, devices meant to be activated by the viewer's gaze. Mirror writing, another of his peculiar habits, offers a similar clue. He wrote backwards as if he were confiding secrets only legible in reflection, as if the ordinary reading of things was merely the first layer. What if his paintings operate the same way? Not as locked boxes, but as mirrors requiring a different angle of light, a new technology, or even a different era to unlock their full message. Modern imaging, infrared X-ray, has already peeled back centuries of edits and revealed preliminary sketches and erased ideas beneath the painted surface. When scientists aimed new technology at his works, they found entire scenes and structures Leonardo had considered, then hidden. A ruined temple built over a church, a landscape rearranged, figures fighting in a background that was removed by later hands. These discoveries feel like peeks down the keyhole of a mind that refused to stop thinking. Some researchers have gone further, claiming that when you mirror or digitally enhance certain paintings, you can coax strange, otherworldly shapes from shadow and form. Faces that look not wholly human stare back in the negative spaces. Are these the products of pareidolia, our human habit of seeing patterns where none were intended? Or deliberate encodings, hints left by an artist who always seemed to be communicating with someone beyond his contemporaries? When your life is devoted to the study of reflections, optics, and the microscopic architecture of light, it becomes plausible that you'd hide messages for future people who would one day have the tools to read them. The story extends beyond singular paintings. Leonardo's notebooks read like field journals from another world. Diagrams of flying machines, cross-sections of human anatomy, machines that pump and measure and cut, they all show a mind preoccupied with possibility. He drew helicopters decades before they flew, mechanized devices before industry existed, and detailed anatomical plates that would inform surgeons centuries later. Did he invent these out of sheer extrapolation from his studies of birds and bones? Or did some of these designs come to him as visions, as if he'd glimpsed futures in which such devices were commonplace? Those who favor extraterrestrial explanations point to moments where Leonardo's work seems to cross cultural and symbolic borders: broken temples bearing lotus capitals, sacred geometry patterns like the flower of life, symbols that recirculate through ancient mythologies. To them, these are not coincidences but fingerprints of contact, echoes of knowledge from outside the Mediterranean world, perhaps conveyed in dreams, perhaps in moments of revelation. Whether or not you buy that idea, what matters is the emotional truth it reveals. Leonardo felt connected to a larger intelligence, one that made him attentive to geometry, proportion, and a cosmology in which art and science are not opposed, but the same language. There is an urgency to this invitation. In a world that prizes speed and shorthand, Leonardo's slow, exacting attention is a radical act. Modern tools now allow us to reopen his canvases and re-examine his intentions. Each discovery asks a new question: what else has been hidden by time and assumption? What other voices lie folded into paint and graphite, waiting for light? As we aim better cameras and sharper analyses at his work, we are not simply uncovering the past. We are learning how to read a future that his vision anticipated. Voices of scholars and skeptics, and watch as technology excavates the artist's thinking. By the end, whether you believe in prophetic encounters or not, you will see Leonardo not only as a painter of impossibly soft flesh and living smiles, but as a craftsman of possibility, a mind that built bridges across centuries simply by refusing to stop looking. If you stay with me through the entire story, you'll reach a surprising crossroads where art, faith, science, and myth meet. And you'll leave with a sharper sense of what genius looks like when it's both human and unbearably, insistently alive.